Hey folks, and welcome back to Contract. This week we are looking at offer and acceptance, and offer and acceptance are two of what I call the holy trilogy of prerequisites for formation of a valid contract, they being offer, acceptance and consideration. We will do consideration next week in all likelihood. So without further ado, let's jump into the Prezi. So here we are at our Prezi, and we are looking at offer and acceptance. Now, before we get into the nuts and bolts of offer and acceptance, we need to think a little bit about theory yet again, because otherwise the various rules and principles involved with what constitutes a valid offer, what constitutes a valid acceptance, just seem like exactly that, a whole grab bag of disparate principles. But if we can see some kind of organization and some kind of sense, a rationale behind it all, then we're able to get a better understanding of why the principles have been worked out the way they have and what they're intended to achieve. At the end of the day, all of the major theories require this notion of agreement between the parties. Why is that? You end up with a contract at the end of the day, which is an agreement. What do you need to ensure about that agreement? What's the most logical way that you can ensure the agreement is the free, voluntary will of the parties? It's by requiring a meeting of the minds. Okay, meeting of the minds, and here we start our wonderful excursion into legal Latin, consensus ad idem. What is consensus ad idem? It is a concept that helps us. Oh yes, and that's probably stating it as simply as you possibly can. It's a concept that allows us to work out when a contract was formed so far as the law is concerned. It's that magical point in time where you have this meeting of the parties' minds. Now, once that happens and those parties' minds have met, the offeror has made their intended to be legally binding offer. The offeree, or what they're now calling the acceptor, has accepted that offer unconditionally. We have this meeting of the minds. Ta-da!
Pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbow.
Amazing. And so long as all the other prerequisites are met, intention to create legal relations, capacity, consideration is the other one, big one, certainty of terms, completeness, all of that stuff, as long as the context is all sitting there and prepared for you, you've got the meeting of the minds happening, and boom, it all springs into existence at that point in time. Why do we need to be worried about the point in time that offer and acceptance collide and give birth to a contract? Because legal rights will stem from that point in time onwards, and it has consequences for what the parties can and cannot do. After that point in time, neither party can withdraw at their will. They can withdraw, but they may well incur some form of legal liability. Okay, so this is a concept that helps us work out what the parties' rights are on and from a particular point in time. Okay, but, and there is a big but, is it really like that? Well, probably not in real life, if we're really honest. McNeil and the relational contract theorists would say in real life it just doesn't go down like that. It's probably not that kind of clean process where we can filter out, party A says, I will offer you X if you give me Y, and the other party says, yes, I agree to those terms. Bingo, contract formed, legally enforceable, and you're away. Often in real life it will be messy. McNeil calls it, this is the reality in the swamp. What happens? Well, normally you'll have one party proposing some stuff, the other party's kind of half in, half out, not really fully committed. One party might start doing something, the other party says, oh, well, if they've done that, I can certainly do this, and trust gets built up, and then the relationship gets stronger, and then eventually you'll have this full commitment by the parties. The relationship ripens contractually, and ultimately gets performed by the parties. Now, yes, it can be messy like that in the swamp, as McNeil says. The rules can seem quite artificial. The other problem is that, it's often bound up, and judicial discussion is partly to blame here. Although it's easy to see why, it's partly bound up with all of the other prerequisites that go to making up a valid and legally enforceable contract. So you will see discussions of offer and acceptance bringing in to that discussion references to intention to create legal relations, certainty, completeness, and all of those other good things that we'll be discussing during the course of term. So it can be hard to tease out and really focus in any kind of laser pointed fashion only specifically on offer and acceptance. But you do need rules of thumb, because you do need to work out when the parties' rights commence from in terms of a valid and enforceable legal contract. You need these guidances. So this is why the court ends up saying in the McGill case, just the fact that it's hard doesn't mean that we have to effectively throw the baby out with the bathwater. Okay, the fact that it is a bit artificial in some circumstances hasn't been seen as a reason for its wholesale abandonment. Okay, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We need something to help us here. Okay, so that is, I guess, the in real life messiness of offer and acceptance. It isn't this clean, clear-cut set of principles that will give you a bright line answer in every case. This is the wonderful thing I keep saying about law. It's all a bit murky, and what you do is you sift out from the facts that you have been presented with what is the most likely scenario for that particular set of facts. Okay, so that's just a quick introductory video, a bit of an explainer to help us get our heads around the whole notion of offer and acceptance. Why is it so? And in the next video, we'll have a look at offer, and then in the final video, we will look at acceptance. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.